Am I the a-hole for refusing to offer emotional support to my ex-fiancé's daughter? I, 34 male, met my ex-fiancée 6 years ago. I was 28 and she was 36. My ex had a daughter, Kayla, who was 18 around the time we started dating, only didn't meet her until a year later. She disapproved, and I get why, given that I was only 10 years older than her. Obviously, I didn't want a stepfather role, and I made sure she knew that. Just wanted us to acknowledge each other as two people who love her mom very much, and to respect one another. Kayla still hated my guts, and she never held back giving me attitude or even calling her mom a cougar. My ex told me her daughter was in therapy. I never liked anyone she dated since she and her ex-husband divorced when Kayla was 7. Things never improved. My ex and I eventually moved in with each other to a new apartment. She insisted on Kayla also moving in with us since she was in college and didn't want her to spend so much on rent. I had no problem with that. Still, Kayla never respected me as her mom's partner. Sometimes things of mine would go missing or I'd find them destroyed. Like a new watch my ex got me for my birthday. She threw a literal fit when we got engaged. The morning after, my car got keyed and I could only guess who it was since the place we lived had a private garage only we had access to. This just caused too many conflicts between my fiancé and I, since she wouldn't do anything to put Kayla in line. We broke things off 3 years ago and went about my life. It hurt, but in the end, it became too much. I found out on Facebook that my ex-fiancé passed from COVID 9 months ago. Now Kayla wants to get in touch for us to meet. She sent an apology message last month and she's asking for us to meet up for coffee. Kayla says she wants us to become friends since I was so close to her mom too, and would like that help with what she's dealing with. I thanked her for her apology, but said I don't have an interest in us meeting up. I closed that chapter in my life for a reason, and it would be better to leave this in the past. I'm glad she's apologized and acknowledged what she did, but she can understand why I don't want her in my life anymore. For a while, Kayla messaged me a few times, but I stopped replying after giving my final answer. Then, my ex's mom also messaged me because Kayla is upset and asked her to talk to me. I gave the same answer, which made her very mad. She says Kayla is a child who needs comfort and she can't believe I'm going to turn my back on her. The lady can't give Kayla the same comfort because she lives in a different country. And I'm the closest thing Kayla has to my ex since I'm so much closer and we can actually meet up regularly. I haven't replied to either of their messages, but I still read them when they come in. I want to remain firm in keeping Kayla out of my life after everything. But given that she lost her mom, am I being an a-hole because I don't want to give her the support? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If Kayla was 18 years old 6 years ago, that means she's 24 years old now and not a child. She has no relationship to you, and you don't owe her anything. It's nice you accepted her apology. It was more than you had to do. You would be justified if you blocked her and her grandmother. I don't believe that Kayla's even after emotional support. I think she's planning to hit OP up for money. It's the only reason people who have been nasty to you for years suddenly get in touch. She can never fully apologize for repeatedly ruining her late mother's chance at happiness with a new partner. Had her mother still been with Opie in a different living environment, she may still even be alive. Block her, Opie. Not a-hole. You had no real relationship with Kayla. It makes no sense that she would want emotional support from you. It's far more likely that she wants something else. Money, a free place to live, than that she wants emotional support from someone she never had a good relationship with and whose belongings she vandalized. Surprised this is the only comment saying this? I mean, it absolutely sucks losing a parent, especially in your early/mid-20s. But it sounds like she thoroughly hated Opie and was doing childish things to Opie as an adult in early 20s. When you're 21, you know damaging people's property is an illegal and crappy thing to do. I highly doubt this is purely a call for emotional help. I can almost guarantee this Kayla will be asking for financial support, place to live, etc., hoping Opie will step in as some sort of pseudo-parent, since it's the closest thing she has. Not an a-hole. This child is now in her 20s, and both she and her grandmother are asking far too much of you. It may seem harsh, but I would block them both for contacting you further. Not an a-hole. If she needs help, she can get a therapist. There are tons of qualified professionals that can help her, and it's not your responsibility to reopen those wounds to help a child. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for getting my own streaming services? My boyfriend, 28 male, has given our streaming service passwords to several of his friends. Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, Disney Plus, etc. If you're someone who shares a streaming service with several people, you're probably aware that there's a cap on how many people can stream at once. Since our streaming services are being shared with so many people, he doesn't remember how many people and which of his friends he shared it with. It's very difficult to watch anything since there's always multiple people at any given time. Whenever we try to watch a show or movie together and we can't proceed because of limitations, he'll excuse it by saying, "We'll just try later when they're not watching." The issue is someone is always watching, lol. My patience began to wear thin, so I told my boyfriend, "I don't mean to be nasty, but your friends are being freeloaders. They have jobs, and if they want to use HBO Max, they can pay for their own subscription. It's really hard to watch anything I or we want to watch with so many people." He told me I'm being selfish, and that since he pays for it, he can share it with whoever he wants to. So I subscribed to a few services on my personal devices and paid for them. I was watching a show that I had been dying to watch on my laptop, and my boyfriend asked if I wanted to watch something with him. I said, "No thanks, I've been dying to catch up on this." He then said, "See? Just be patient. Not everyone is watching all the time." I said, "Oh, actually, I made my own account." He got offended because he said he already pays for subscription services, so I'm just wasting my money and being childish. Not a day-ho. Tell him you can do what you want with your money. Since he's not interested in giving you a say in the streaming services, you're allowed to get your own. Major not a day-ho. Because I pay for the streaming devices at home and my brother gave out the password to several of his friends and I would never be able to watch anything, so I just canceled the subscription and told him I'll no longer be subscribed and made a new account for myself. You could have just changed the password and logged out all of the other devices. I know some streaming services allow that. Maybe remind him that he is just your boyfriend and in no way has control of your finances. You also don't have to consult with him before you make decisions concerning your finances. Exactly. Plus, streaming services aren't crazy expensive. It's not like she's spending thousands of dollars on something useless. Definitely not a hole. He seems to be prioritizing the wants of his friends. He's not prioritizing you and the time you spend together. And he's calling you childish? Red flag. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to allow my child to stay overnight at her father's home? I'll start by saying that the issues with this man run very deep. And I'd be here all day if I was to tell you the whole story. So for this post, I just want an opinion on this particular issue. I, late 30s female, am a single mom to my daughter aged 4. Her father, early 30s male, abandoned us as soon as he found out I was pregnant, and then changed his mind just before she was born. He has caused untold hell since that moment, but that's info for another post. My daughter has never stayed over at his house. He rents a tiny studio. He recently has said he may move to a house and then he'd like her to start staying over. I have refused on the following grounds. 1. He smokes grass. He smells. His home smells. She smells and her clothes and shoes smell when she comes home from a day there. I have mentioned this several times and it has got slightly better, but he still smokes it, and I'm not happy for her to stay in a home where there are Ds. Plus, I do not know who he gets it from or if it gets dropped off to him, etc. Now, I know it's not like it's meth, but I'm still not happy to have her around it. And it's been very upsetting to have her come back to me smelling of it. I have told him he will have to give it up before I let her stay over. He wouldn't smoke it when she was there. That I know. 2. The incident. When she was 2, nearly 3, I went out for the evening and he stayed at mine to watch her until I got home at 11 p.m. at which point he would leave. I live on the 4th floor of an apartment building. When I came home, up in the lift, the doors opened, and there he was, in the communal hallway about to take the lift down to the ground floor to his car, leaving a 2-year-old asleep in my home. He claims he was only popping down to the car. It's not an issue and she was asleep, so what's the big deal? I said that not only could he have been involved in an accident or something, but my main concern was as a 2-year-old she often wakes in the night. If she had woken up and been unable to find an adult in her home, she would have been absolutely traumatized. He also left the front door unlocked, and she could have gone looking for him. He says that he did not go down to his car, because I came out of the lift before he managed to get any further, so technically he didn't leave her. Obviously, my main point is that he intended to and got caught. This argument goes round in circles. So therefore, I have refused to allow him to have her overnight as he cannot be trusted. He says I'm being over the top and dredging up the past. I say I'm a good mom, and I won't have my girl in any danger whatsoever. There is a lot more detail I can elaborate if asked. But Reddit, am I the a-hole for not allowing overnight stays? Not the a-hole. But you all three need a legal custody arrangement yesterday. This issue isn't going anywhere. Not legal advice here, but chances are he'd get at least some overnight visitation, with rules, if you did so. So it's time to set expectations at a reasonable level to ensure safety, like no smoking while she's present, no leaving the house while she's present unless there's another approved adult in the house. These are totally reasonable. I wouldn't be so sure about him getting any overnights with a child coming home from visits smelling like D's. So you're asking if you're the a-hole for not allowing your kid to stay the night with someone who does smoke and seems completely irresponsible basically? The answer is no, you aren't. Not the a-hole. He's never taken them when with her. His whole home stinks because he's dirty and messy and doesn't wash things properly. So the smell just lingers in all the furniture, etc. If CPS were to visit his home, would they find issue with it? Not the a-hole for trying to keep your daughter safe. To be totally honest, they have bigger fish to fry. I mean, they'd smell, and maybe if they looked, they'd find it. I have no idea where he keeps it. They'd see it's pretty dirty, but I don't think they'd have anything else to report. Thank you. Not the a-hole. First, dude proved himself irresponsible when he disappeared from the relationship the second a pregnancy happened. The fact that he got remorseful and came back doesn't, in my mind, change that much. Secondly, the smoking thing doesn't bother me that much, as long as he doesn't get wasted while the kid is there, and if it's legal. If it's not, that's a whole different thing. Third, leaving a small child home alone, even if it was just to go down to his car, is an irresponsible act. Not irredeemably irresponsible, just definitely not smart. But it's the sort of thing that you might not really think about when having a kid around is relatively new to you. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for insisting my wife stop sleeping with her makeup on? Hear me out, please. My male 33, wife female 27, was unemployed since 2019. She was down on her luck with getting a job, and 2020 made it a whole lot worse. But her new friend got her a job at a beauty salon. And I'm very happy for her and very proud because she got dealt a crappy hand in those nearly 3 years without income. Also, she developed awesome makeup artist skills. She practices a lot on her own face to come up with her own ideas, and she already has few customers that like her work. She works in the afternoon till 9 p.m., gets home, eats dinner, then goes straight to bed. Usually before I do because I go to bed at 12. So what my wife does is go to bed with her full makeup on, leaving stains on both pillows because she always tends to sleep on different sides on the bed. Why it bothers me is because of the stains and also the strong smell of the products. I talked to her about it and she took it as an I was against her wearing makeup, saying she needed to look good herself to get customers to want her service. I just pointed out that the stains she was leaving in both pillows were not cool, and since I ended up doing the cleaning because she said she was too tired to remove her makeup before going to bed. Last night, she finished eating dinner and wanted to go to bed. I asked her if she was going to bed with her makeup on, and she stood there saying yes. I informed her that I already cleaned the pillows and asked her to clean up before going to bed. She threw a fit and gave a long rant about how long and hard she works trying to provide for us, and that I was being overdramatic and paying attention to stupid little things. She wanted to just go inside a bedroom, but I stopped her and insisted she removes her makeup first. She blew up at me and called me an a-hole for not letting her sleep and rest after being on her feet all day. She grabbed a blanket and went to sleep on the couch, and she was so mad I had to go outside to cool off a bit. This morning she went radio silence, but kept giving me bitter looks, then tested me hours ago to say she was spending the night at a friend's place since I was going to make her sleep on the couch tonight as well. I don't get it. I could have been a major a-hole for causing to sleep on the couch, But I was getting tired of having to clean the pillows every day. And that's not an exaggeration. Am I the a-hole for insisting my wife to stop sleeping with her makeup on? Not the a-hole. Leaving her makeup on overnight is terrible for her skin. And at the very, very least, she could put a towel over her pillow. But yeah, she's going to ruin her skin, and I wear makeup regularly, so I'm not anti-makeup. I'm pro look after the canvas. I'm pro makeup, but you have to take it off before bed and have a good skincare routine. I can't even imagine how bad her skin must look under all that makeup. Wonder if the issue is it's so bad she doesn't want her husband to see her without it. Plus, it takes what, like 5 minutes at most to take makeup off? She could just use a makeup remover wipe and a quick rinse, since she obviously either has Teflon skin or doesn't give a crap about it. It takes less time than brushing her teeth, so it's not some major barrier to getting to sleep. This whole thing is super weird. Not the a-hole. Is your wife a child? She can learn to wash her face rather than put her energy into a temper tantrum. Leaving makeup on 24/7 is terrible for her skin too. That should get her attention. But you know, even if it weren't just the stains that you have to clean up, you told her the smell bothers you in bed, and she doesn't seem to care. That's incredibly inconsiderate. She shouldn't sleep on the couch, as that's even harder to get makeup out off, by the way. Ooh, I hate makeup smell, not gonna lie. Don't know how Opie sleeps on pillows with the smell all over. Not the a-hole. There are wipes she can get for this. It takes just seconds to remove your makeup with them. Am I the a-hole because I didn't tell my friends with benefits that friend-zoned me that I was getting married? I know the title is stupid, but it's accurate. I had a friends with benefits, Lisa. I caught feelings and asked her if we could be more. She said that I was a nice guy and she enjoyed sex, but she couldn't really imagine a relationship with me because I was a man for her. She said we should just go back to being friends. So we did. She dated a bunch of other guys and I met a few women I liked. We stayed friends and I never pushed for more. Not even going back to how it was. I started dating my fiancée Laura a few years ago and she became friends with Lisa. She knows about our past relationship and she is okay with it as long as I respect her boundaries, which I always have and will. We got engaged last weekend. No wedding plans yet, but she's the one. Lisa called me yesterday and asked me if I got engaged. I told her yes. She asked me why I would do that, since she was waiting for me to break up with Laura so we could try again, now that I have proven I can be in a relationship. I told her that we couldn't be friends anymore, and immediately told Laura what happened. She told me I shouldn't, not couldn't, hang around with Lisa anymore. I told her that I already said we couldn't be friends. A few of our friends from college have told me I'm a prick for cutting Lisa out, since I knew she always had a thing for me. I said that nobody informed me that I was her backup plan. I wouldn't have been interested if I had known. I am no one's second choice. Lisa did ask me to have a coffee with her to talk. I went after I told Laura what I was up to. Lisa said that I was an a-hole for not telling her that I was serious about Laura and that I was planning on getting engaged. She was waiting for me to tell her so she could tell me that she was ready for me now. What? She said she didn't realize how serious we were, since Laura and I don't live together yet. We both live with our parents to save money for life. My folks are semi-retired and spend 9 months of the year away on vacations. Laura's parents are happy to have her there to help with her younger siblings. I know I made a right decision cutting her off, but I'm wondering how the heck I was supposed to know. I'll be honest, if Lisa had told me the first year of my relationship with Laura that she was ready, I might have considered it. Laura and I were dating but not serious. How is it my fault if she never informed me? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She tried to keep you as an insurance future. Tough luck for her. You moved on. Congratulations on your engagement. Thank you. Yeah, it's just weird. How was I supposed to know she had a plan if she didn't share it? You had no chance. She's just angry and tries to guilt you. Opie, remember it this way. You never had a real shot. Don't try and rewind that tape in your brain. You asked her to be in a relationship. She declined. You found a lovely girl who wants you as her number one. Full stop. Not a-hole. It's not. Also, she was lying. Waiting for me to break up with Laura so we could try again now that I have proven I can be in a relationship? Come on, man. Her words, not mine. You're suddenly more attractive now that another woman wants you, and you'll be off the market for good. She's angry she overlooked you, and now you're marrying someone else.
Yes, it's called pre-selection. Friend with benefits didn't want OP for anything serious until another woman got with him. Friends with benefits suddenly saw OP as a viable choice because Laura saw he was a viable choice. It's the same reason why some people will go after a married person. If that person is happy with them, then I'll be happy with them. It's messed up, but it's definitely a thing. I would cut the people off telling you you're a prick. She had her chance. She didn't take it. She doesn't get to say you're in some trial, and she's subserving you with your partner to see if you're a good boyfriend. Honestly, she sounds insane. Don't just block her. Change your number. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother he has himself to blame for his wife's cheating? My older brother, 29 male, has always had it easy and got way too comfortable in his situation. He was always the favorite compared to myself, 25 female, and my sister, 32 female. The handsome kid, popular in high school and with girls, that kind of thing. It seems during college he actually found a long-term girlfriend, and when he finished up school he married her. It's been 6 years since they married, and he hasn't done anything. His wife has always been a driven, successful woman. How he got her to marry him, I will never know. Since they married, he has not worked. They don't have kids. He barely does anything around the house, which he outright admits. He has gained a considerable amount of weight, developed a crippling porn addiction. He's way too open to admitting it. It's awkward. And spends his days with that or gaming. My brother got too used to gliding through life because he was always the pretty and fun guy. Now that he had his dream girl who provided for the house and brought in a ton of money without him having to lift a finger, he stopped trying to contribute at all. His wife works and does all the chores. They're roommates. I've always liked her and we hang out quite a bit. About 4 years ago, she started doing anything she could to fix the relationship, since of course my brother manipulated her into believing it was her fault. She tried to set up therapy appointments, go to gym more, encouraging him to go to the gym, tried intimacy more often, cut back hours to spend more time with him, bought him expensive things. She spent years trying everything she could to fix things, believing it was her fault. He didn't try a single thing, outright rejected therapy, mocked her weight even though she practically has a supermodel figure, insisted his weight was fine, refused to lift a finger for the house, and kept blaming her for the way things were, saying if she tried more, he would be better. 3 years later, she was still coming home to him watching porn in a dirty house while she cooked and cleaned. 3 years of her working herself to the bone, only to come home to an emotionally abusive husband who beat her down, while she tried everything to fix her marriage. Last year, she decided she wanted a divorce. My brother became hostile and promised to drag it out and take as much as he could, as apparently they have a prenup that he somehow got her to agree to. I know very little about divorce laws, especially in our state, except for that we don't live in an at-fault state. But according to her, if she tried to go forward with it and he got petty, he could take a lot from her. Everything they have is because of her, so she decided against divorce. She was trapped with him and accepted it, against mine and others' objections. I guess by then she was over his BS. She slowly spent more time away from home and claimed she was working extra hours. She didn't bother him about therapy or his weight. She actually pretty much stopped interacting with him. She didn't cook anymore. She didn't clean anymore. It didn't take long for her to admit to me she was spending quite a bit of time with other guys and girls. She never brought any home, but was staying out late quite a bit. My brother didn't notice, and I didn't care. For years, she was a beaten-down shell trying to appease someone who didn't respect her. Now she was lively, happy, outgoing, and everything she used to be. I'm not happy about her feeling stuck with my brother or the concept of cheating in general, but apparently it works for her. It didn't take long for him to find out. Apparently, there were a lot of people she was meeting. He was livid, demanded she stop, and threatened divorce. She didn't care. She told him he knew where the door was. It was her home solely, and she was allowing him to stay out of obligation. She told him she would gladly stop if he agreed to a fair divorce without him fighting it, and that she was showing decency as a provider and a wife by not bringing her partners into their home. The thing is, even if my brother got his way in a divorce, he knew that money would not last at all, and without any work experience and the shape he was currently in, he would be screwed. He was an overweight slacker who barely had anything to his name. Prenup or not, now he was stuck. And so that's how it's been for nearly a year. She barely comes home anymore, and the list of affair partners has only gotten longer. My brother has tried going to the gym more, picking up a part-time job, cooking, but it's too late. He had years to fix this and only chose to change when his back was against the wall. He's been begging me to make her stop and to give their marriage a shot. I told him he is a moron who only has himself to blame. If you beat down a patient and caring person long enough, they will absolutely mess you up. He needs to just accept the divorce in her favor and learn from this. He didn't like my answer at all and hasn't talked to me for a couple weeks. Not a-hole. People can't treat someone like that and expect no repercussions. Normally, I say get divorced first, but he was actively obstructing divorce. Not the a-hole, and so is your sister-in-law. She is actually smart in getting him to become active this way, making him less dependent on her money. It takes a mountain for me to agree that cheating was acceptable morally, but this is it exactly. Once he blocked the divorce and manipulated her, screw it, all bets were off. At this point, it kind of feels like it's only cheating in a technical sense. Any pretense of an actual relationship ended when she asked for a divorce and he took the hostile option. Be a real husband. No. Fine, at least be an ex-husband. No. Okay then, cuckold it is. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my ex that she chose our kids over our relationship and it's not my problem that she's lonely now they are grown up? My ex and I had our first child when we were 26. We met at a bar celebrating our 21st birthday. We literally are the exact same age. She changed. Being a mom became her only identity. Our second child when we were 28 compounded it. She was a mom, not a wife. And not even herself. Not the woman I met, fell in love with and married. All she wanted to do was kid stuff. Kid movies, kid TV, kid books, everything. If I wanted to drop the kids off and take her to the farmer's market, she would say no, that the kids love the farmer's market. We had to take them. They were 3 and 1. They did not love the farmer's market. If anything, the older one loved the mini donuts. And she couldn't stand to hear them cry, so she let them sleep with us constantly. When I put my foot down, she would start crying about how mean I was. When the kids finally outgrew that, she would let them come in our room without knocking. So sex was interesting. Having a cold little hand grab my calf made for at least one very hard thrust. I put a lock on the bedroom door. She took it off. We went for counseling. She went for counseling. Nothing ever changed. She said it would be different when the kids were older. It never changed. I left when the kids were 9 and 11. I had planned and paid for a trip for our 15th anniversary. We were going to Thailand like we always planned when we were younger. She changed the plans. She canceled with her parents watching the kids. We went as a family to Disney World. We had been the year before, and the kids loved it so much. I lasted another 6 months. Then I left. I pay child support. I pay spousal support. I'm there for the kids all the time. I enjoy my custody time. I go to their extracurriculars on the days I don't have them. I have rooms for them in my house. I met someone new a year later. We got married a year after that. We had our first child 2 years after that. She is an excellent stepmom, and the kids were polite and friendly with her. They were grown up and they had a mom, so she is more of a trusted adult. The kids are 16 and 14 now, and they're sick of mom's attention. They're spending more and more of their time at my house. I love having them over. And here they understand what privacy and personal space mean. My ex is lonely. She devoted her life to her kids, and she expected them to be around her forever, I guess. She has dated other men, but she refuses to prioritize them in any way over the kids. An example, one guy lasted 6 months. He wanted to take her away for the weekend. She couldn't because the younger one had a soccer game. It was my weekend. The guy had checked with me that I would be attending and not just leaving the kid at the field. I was. She refused to go and showed up at the game without him. That was the last I saw him. She is getting angry and bitter that I left her alone to go start a new family with my child bride. My wife was 30 when I met her and I was 38. I wasn't exactly robbing the cradle. I told her that she wanted that life, that I gave her every opportunity to be my partner, and she said she would rather be a mom. She said that wasn't true, so I asked her to prove me wrong, to tell me when she put our relationship above the slightest inconvenience to our kids. She couldn't do it. I reminded her that she passed up a weekend with her boyfriend to go to a soccer game. She said it was important. I said that adult relationships are also important. My wife thinks that I was harsh but fair. Our child sleeps through the night in her nursery though. Now for the top comments. Not a-hole. As a child of a woman like your ex, I got to see firsthand what her decisions to never ever leave my side to do anything with my dad alone did to their marriage. It was horrible and hurt him so deeply. It was also incredibly suffocating for me, and I resented the heck out of being the whole beginning and the end of her world. It's great that your kids are able to see and appreciate the difference in lifestyles and choosing to spend more time with you. She's going to be in for a world of serious hurt if she doesn't learn and refuses to back off of them once they are ready to fly the nest. Not the a-hole. I knew a person who literally fell apart when her children started school. She would ask to stay in their classroom and sit at the back, and it was a total mental breakdown she had. She would be the one wailing when the kids had to go into school each morning. In the end, after her husband had a meeting with them, the school eventually let her volunteer so she would be near, but they quickly insisted she wasn't allowed in their class. Yet she was in the school, and would monitor breaks and lunch to be there watching them. It wasn't healthy at all for her or the kids. Yet it was just accepted, and everywhere she went, excuses and exceptions were made for her, as she was known not to cope without the kids. When they were in secondary, she did get a job. But I think that as her husband and doctors pushed her to do something to distract and occupy her time when they were away from her. However, she would come into work late as she was just checking on the kids or would leave partway through her shift to take them a treat for lunch. It was ridiculous that her employer didn't sack her. It was the kids I felt sorry for, 2 boys. Even in older teenage years, it was like they'd been conditioned to see her as fragile, and that they just had to make allowances for her and put up with her forcing herself in every area of their lives. Yet you could see them fed up and sick of it at times, but knew their dad and other family would go mad if they try to have some space. Rather than upset the mom, the family would rather upset the boys. Yet she thought she was all they wanted and needed, so she didn't admit to herself when she made them uncomfortable or unhappy with her being overbearing. I honestly wondered what would happen when she discovers they are dating. She'd take it as an attack on her, I think. She'd take it as them saying she wasn't enough for them. I don't know, maybe she wouldn't like the girl, but she was so possessive and so they're my boys, my everything, my life that I doubt it. I always felt sorry for the boys and wouldn't be surprised if she actually tried to move in with them if they move out. That she would probably help them get their belongings in and appear with a bag of her own at her pillow and act devastated if they try to say no. I am certain any girlfriend would be measured off by her, and possibly by the boys. I wondered whether the boys thought all girls would wait on them hand and foot and put their wants above the girlfriend/boyfriend's needs in life, and if they thought that was normal and natural. It's clear any woman that entered that family would be basically dating the mom as well. That is, if she gets allowed that far by the mom at all. I also wondered about her husband, who suddenly became pushed to the corner in their home and lives as soon as she had their first. He never seemed to mind, and pushed for the boys to just accept it to make their mom happy. I do know there was a fight as the boys got older, to get them to sleep in their own beds and rooms by the husband. He was sick of being pushed out and being uncomfortable, and had ranted to some friends about it. But it was all weird and messed up to me. I'm just glad in OP's case, the kids had a place to escape to, a haven from her constantly overbearing, a place they can get to discover who they are without her. I am so glad their dad didn't push them into feeling they were wronging her for wanting space. Yes, she is lonely, but if she doesn't ease up on them, she will force them away from her completely. Only she is to blame for the choices she's made, and for the consequences from them.
Am I the a-hole for not buying gifts for my ex's child? Ex and I share a 16-year-old son together. 6 years ago, he cheated on me and got the other woman pregnant, and I filed for divorce. We got married straight after but broke up, and then got back together. Right now, they are still together, but their relationship is turbulent, to say the least. Because of this, they often find themselves in financial difficulty, and their recently turned 6-year-old daughter has suffered because of it. I'm not part of her life. I never could be after he cheated, and my son is kind of the same. He was old enough to realize that Dad moving out and in with another woman who was giving him a baby sibling meant that Dad had likely cheated. I put him in therapy, but I never had it in me to be part of his half-sister's life, even if it meant I didn't make much of an effort to get close to her. The last year has hit everyone hard, but from what my son has said, X has been hit very hard. Things went to crap in his house, and he spent thousands fixing the roof, then a plumbing issue and then a broken window. It was X's daughter's 6th birthday 2 weekends ago. X's parents always took care of getting my son a gift from him to his half-sister, but they never really got her much. X emailed me about our son, We needed to discuss medical stuff about our son, and then dropped stuff about buying his daughter gifts into those emails. I told him I would not be buying gifts when he kept dropping it in despite my ignoring him. My son said his half-sister got basically nothing for her birthday. Nothing special anyway, and she was sad. My ex told me it was my fault, and I should have got her something as the mom of her brother. I was venting to one of my friends about it, and she said my ex is kinda right. That she was the affair child and she ended up in the spot of never being as wanted as her half-siblings, and feeling the impact of less people making less effort. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I really think the word audacity fits the situation. You're not the kid's mama/auntie. She's the kid of the side piece who backstabbed a married woman. You have zero responsibility to do anything other than not be mean to her kid or not block your son's relationship with her kid. Demanding you spend your money to please her kid? No. Yes, except I'd be more upset with my ex since it was his marriage and he cheated. Not stay home. Not stay home. Why isn't the ex buying a gift for his son to give his half-sibling? Isn't that usually how it works? You never ask the cheated on person to buy your new kid a present. Ever. Not stay home. The child is innocent, but you owe them nothing. You and the child have no relationship, and they should not expect anything from you. Info. How much time does your son spend with you and your ex? We had shared custody, but since last year he has been spending less and less time with him. If your son feels that he wants to provide her with a holiday gift this year, as in he decides as a big brother to do this not because his dad is guilt-tripping him, you could support him in doing that. You aren't obligated to finance such gift, but helping him to choose something age and interest appropriate might be a good bonding moment as mom and son. It could be an opportunity where you're actively acknowledging that the child is an innocent party without diminishing the shared pain that you and your son have from the entire situation. Completely agree that you're not the a-hole here, and based on what I've seen in my own family tree, start getting hands-on about responsible finance habits with your son if you haven't already. That includes setting boundaries. I wouldn't be surprised if your ex starts asking your son for help once he has a stable income of any sort. My ex told me it was my fault and I should have got her something as the mom of her brother. So, he's one of those guys who just pulls complete nonsense out of his butt? I would have fell on the floor laughing. Yeah, the child is blameless and is in a hard spot. But she also has absolutely nothing to do with you. There are hordes of innocent children in tough situations, and you owe this girl nothing more than you owe any other impoverished child. Also, the fact that your ex is so entitled to think you're obligated to fund his affair child's birthday gift is just total horse manure. With that sense of logic and entitlement, no wonder his life is in the toilet. Not the a-hole. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for demanding my ex give me back my family baby blanket after learning truth? This happened a few weeks ago. Baby girl I, 27 male, thought was mine has another father. 3 months after she was born, I posted pictures of her with my ex-girlfriend of 5 years. Guy reaches out to me saying he was with her, had no idea she was in a relationship, and baby might be his. Well, as it turns out after we did a paternity test, I'm not her father. My ex moved out of our apartment with her daughter and living with her mom for now. I've still been pissed off and hurt. Then I found out she took the baby blanket my great-grandma made herself when she moved out since I couldn't find it anywhere in my apartment. It's been passed down in our family whenever a new baby is born. Wanted to pass it down to my kids, so that's why I was given the blanket when my ex got pregnant. I drove to her mom's house and demanded she give the blanket back since I want to have it for my future kids. My ex didn't want to. I don't know if it to be petty because it's not like she doesn't have other baby clothes, blankets, and stuff. But she claimed it was a gift for the baby, and you can't demand to be given a gift back. My argument was that the gift was meant for a baby that I was tricked into thinking is mine, and I would like it back because neither of them is my family anymore. We fought back and forth till she gave it to me. Her mom was telling me crap the following day. Then she went and complained on Twitter that I stole our baby's blanket. Most of our friends are calling her nonsense because everyone knows what went down. But still there are some who think I went too far with demanding to have the blanket given back. I'm not sure why. It's my family's blanket, and in the future I want that for my actual kids, not let it be taken by someone who lied and hurt me. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Simple. It is a blanket meant for your baby. This baby is not yours. If you had decided to raise the baby as yours regardless of DNA, I'm sure you would have let her keep the blanket. More than that, it's a blanket meant for Opie's great-grandmother's great-great-grandchild. This baby isn't in that line. In a sense, Opie's only stewarding the blanket on behalf of his family for the next generation. It isn't even really his to give away. Ex-girlfriend should have had the grace to leave it behind when she moved back with her own family. Not Daeho. Not Daeho. Put her on blast on social media with, and wanted a family heirloom intended for my child back. She lied about me being the father, and let me and my family get attached to baby that wasn't mine. Which is really worse here. Ditch anyone who sides with her after that. Everyone who's telling me this knows what she did to me, but they're looking at it like I'm taking this out on the baby by taking the blanket away. It's a family heirloom, not some random blanket you bought at Walmart. You aren't taking anything away from her baby. A baby does not need a blanket to survive. Not Daeho. It's a family heirloom and that's not your baby. I'm sorry your ex made you believe the child was yours. I'm sure that was hard news to receive. Still hurts a lot, yes. I feel like an idiot, but I'm trying to process it. Glad to have it back though, and space away from her now. Next story. Am I the a-hole for calling my mother-in-law crazy and kicking her out of my husband's house because she wants him to basically leave me? My 24 female husband, 25 male, and I just had a beautiful baby girl 2 months ago. His mom is a self-made entrepreneur, and she's honestly an inspiration to me. She's strong, intelligent, had fought hard for everything she owns, and before I got pregnant, we got along just fine. She supported me in my professional decisions and never showed any sign of not approving our relationship. When we told my husband's parents that we were pregnant, his dad congratulated us and looked so happy to be a grandfather. His mom? Not so much. She quickly asked us what we were gonna do, and that if we wanted to terminate, she'd support us. She believed that we both had promising futures, and if we had a baby this early in our careers, we'll never fulfill our dreams. But my husband and I assured her that we had everything planned. We both agreed that I was gonna dedicate a year to our daughter, and then I was gonna get back on the field. We never asked them for a penny, and neither of us waited for them to fund our new lifestyle. My mother-in-law didn't like it. My husband had a good job, had just enrolled himself in a master's degree, and now he's gonna be a father and a breadwinner of the house. For her, it was too much on his shoulders. So a few days ago, she came to my house and proposed an experiment to me. She told me that during the rest of the year, I was gonna be a stay-at-home mom. I could go back to my parents, and this will allow my husband to come home and rest after a long day of work or school, and during the weekends, he could go to me and visit us if he had the energy to do so. I said that it wasn't fair, since she was our daughter and not just mine, and that she couldn't expect my husband to not have any kind of responsibility towards her. She said that after I ruined my husband's life with an early baby, that's the least I could do. That I was gonna grow comfortable after 1 year of doing basically nothing. And that if my husband was lucky, this would end in a divorce, which for her, it's the best outcome by now. I couldn't believe what she's proposing to me, and told her that she was crazy for even thinking that, and that our baby didn't appear magically in my belly. I kicked her out, and when my husband came home, I told him everything, and we decided to cut contact with his mom. But I can't get the fact that she said I ruined his life out of my head. I'm not planning on being a stay-at-home mom forever, and to be honest, I do want to get back to work. I'm an architect while my husband is an engineer, and I very much enjoy my career. He does come tired from work, but our baby isn't a big problem. She doesn't rip her lungs out when she cries, and we get to calm her very easily. Also, it's not like I'm home doing nothing. I do small projects for my friend's firm every now and then as a freelancer, and I have a position waiting for me there. My husband and I just decided that I had to remain available for our daughter the first year in case anything happens because this is our first baby. Now for the comments. Jesus Christ. Of course you didn't ruin his life. You were both at the conception, right? You were both there when you decided to keep it, right? Don't belittle your husband like his stupid mother does. Not Daeho. I was just coming to comment the same thing. His mother does know that it takes two to tango, yeah? She really does have no confidence in his abilities to adopt, doesn't she? Not Daeho. Your mother-in-law is a straight-up monster. Mothers who get attached to their sons so strongly creep me the hell out. It was bad enough she suggested to terminate the baby, but her behavior now is just bizarre. Not Daeho. Not Daeho. Not only is your mother-in-law a jerk for saying something like this, but my parents waited to have kids, and my mom regrets it, as does my dad. They are not in their prime, and with a 7 and 10-year-old, it's hard on them. I'm entering college. Big jump in ages, I know. And my dad says how he had to actually ask for a downgrade in work and pay because he couldn't do as good a job to care for my siblings. My mom is in menopause, while my sister is going through puberty. It's like a war zone in the house. Have a child when you can enjoy it. You can enjoy your daughter now. You have everything planned. You're doing great. If your husband had a problem with this, he would say so. And he definitely wouldn't have agreed to cut off his mom if he agreed with her. I am not saying having a child later in life is bad. Just it's best for different people at different times. My parents would have been better having children at a younger age, while others may do better at an older age, while others shouldn't have kids. I'm sorry if my answer seemed negative towards any age group or parenting. Edit. Thank you all for all your inputs. My mother-in-law hasn't always been like this, but after we decided to have the baby, her behavior changed completely. I'll answer some of the questions you left. Again, thank you so much. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for losing my temper with my sister after she kept trying to get me to move with her and her family? I'm 27 female, and my sister is 32 with 3 kids and married. When I graduated from high school, my parents decided they wanted to move back to their home state. I stayed with my sister for 2 years while I worked to save money before going to college. While I am grateful to my sister and her husband for letting me stay there, I had no privacy whatsoever. My sister charged me an outrageous amount for rent when she told my parents she wasn't going to, nearly half my small paycheck. And I was expected to watch and babysit my nieces and nephew at a moment's notice, or just because. Like one morning, I woke up to not only my nieces and nephew, but their friends all in the house. And my sister and her husband had left to go to New Orleans without telling me. I was suddenly responsible for 3 kids plus their 4 friends. They were gone for 2 days. I missed work because no one else could watch the kids. I moved out as quickly as possible and now stay in a small apartment. It's not the best, but it doesn't have rats and roaches, and I have a roof over my head. I also currently work full-time instead of part-time. Lately, my sister has been on this kick about us moving back in together. I don't know what has brought this up. Something about how in other cultures families live together forever or something? Her and her husband have been making plans to move to Washington for better jobs and schools. Let me just say I am happy with the small town we live in. Will I like to move one day? Yes, but on my terms. She's been trying to convince me to come with them and live with them again. Each time I have declined because I know full well what will happen if I move back in with my sister. I voiced my concerns before, saying that I like living alone because I have my space, peace and quiet, privacy, and I'm planning on going back to school in the fall. Also, I will not be a live-in babysitter for her kids ever again. She keeps saying those things are in the past, and that I need to get over it. Yesterday, she sent me a link to a virtual house tour, saying this was the house they were thinking about buying, and it had a separate apartment in the basement I could stay in. Also that she would charge me rent this time. I admit I lost it. I called her and told her to not text, call, or email about me moving in ever again. I don't want to move to Washington, and I don't want to live with her. She called me ungrateful and claimed she only wanted to help me get out of this town, but I hung up on her. My parents called me later on. That today I need to apologize because my sister only wanted us to stay a family, and I didn't have to say what I said. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She wants a babysitter. Tell your parents that she charged you rent and did not pay you for babysitting. Also tell the parents that indentured servitude does not mean family. Info. How much do your parents know about what your life was like living with your sister? And if they know, do they care? Oh, they know. It came out a couple years ago about what happened, and all I got was, well, you were living with her. It was the least you could do for her. I paid rent, cooked, cleaned, and of course watched the kids. I was only working part-time, and she took $275 of my $400 paychecks. Lately, my sister has been on this kick about us moving back in together. I don't know what has brought this up. She needed a live-in babysitter that pays rent. Nobody else is going to do it, so she and your parents will hound you. Not a hole. I don't know what has brought this up. She's probably pregnant again. I hope not. She said she's been reading about how in some cultures, whole families live together. Parents, grandparents, kids, uncles, aunts, and etc. and wanted us to be closer as a family. I don't know if she's talked my parents into this. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my late ex-husband's kids money, especially after they tried suing me? My late ex-husband and I had 3 kids together. We divorced because he had mental health issues that he refused to seek help for. He remarried a woman almost immediately after, and they divorced as well after they had 2 young kids together. 2 divorces in 5-year span prompted him to finally get help, and he became a much better person, and we reestablished a close friendship. When he got sick, could no longer work, and his medical bills were bankrupting him, I offered for him to live with me and our kids. When he passed, I established Social Security for my kids and moved on with my life, and I assumed that she did the same. The kids are now all over 18. 3 years ago, I got a court summons. His 2 other kids decided that their father had remarried me, and I stole all his money for myself/my kids. I was basically just the devil, and they were going to get what they were owed. This was completely wrong. I never remarried my ex. While we lived together as a family for the past almost 6 years, it was not even a little romantic, and it would have been stupid to remarry him. His medical bills were insane. There was no money for any of the kids, because he had no money. I was fine to have his kids come over, which was usually 50-50 aside from years 2 and 6, but I never pretended to be a parent to them. The reason there's some money now is because I was able to establish a good career, and my current husband was established when we met. I tried to talk to them, but they wouldn't listen and insisted on going before a judge. During the hearing, when records were pulled out, they switched to the argument that my ex acted as a stay-at-home parent for me, which allowed me to grow my career. This didn't work, and their case was dismissed. Now, they're not only still low income, but they have racked up the lawyer's fee. They're now crying to anyone that will listen about how evil I am to bankrupt teenagers, and how they're even more unable to go to college because I won't be fair. Some of our mutual relatives are now saying that I should care more about these kids, because they were basically my stepkids, even if not by law, and that a family isn't that black and white. Now for the top comments. Not they hole. They played dirty and now they're paying for it. Not your problem. Crappy actions meet crappy consequences. I like to say good decisions come from experience. Experience comes from bad decisions. Not they hole. And clearly, they were either misleading the lawyer, this case seems unwinnable, or the lawyer was hoping you would settle. Either way, they're not your problem. The lawyer got paid. He probably told them the chances are low, but why should he try to convince them not to pay him a lot of money? Probably one of those unethical lawyers taking advantage of fatherless teens full of rage, promising a settlement if they put enough pressure on dad's ex-wife because the lawyer gets paid regardless. Not the a-hole. There's clearly not ever going to be a way for you to alter their perspective on this. I am sure they legitimately feel that you somehow were unfair to them in this complex situation. However, that's on them, not you. If they had to be caretakers for their dying father, their burden would have been worse. They can join the legions of people who get zero financial resources from their parents and make their own way. You were an amazing person for helping your ex, and you owe the kids he created after your relationship was dissolved nothing. Plus, the kids had their own mother. It sounds like at the time of his passing, those kids might have been under 18. If their mom didn't go through the steps with Social Security for them to receive a portion of their dad's death benefits, well, tough. It sounds like the dad might have had 50-50 shared parenting with wife too, so there might not have been a child support order in place. Again, that's on wife too to explain to her kids, but I wouldn't be surprised if those kids heard a lot of "your dad is a deadbeat," even if support wasn't warranted in the case. These kids might be working from a baseline like, "Dad doesn't pay." Hope he will never know. Funny, I bet that those kiddos didn't step in as his heirs to settle any outstanding debts he had, if there were any. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not paying for my stepchildren's college? I, 49, have 2 stepchildren, Leo, 19 male, and Adam, 17 male. I entered their lives when they were 7 and 5, and despite my efforts, they never warmed up to me. I wasn't trying to be their mom, but just another loving parental figure. They told their dad how much they didn't like me when told them that we were engaged, and told my husband that they didn't want him to get married. Their dad reassured them that they would always be a big part of his life and asked them to give me a chance. We even went to their mother for help, but she refused. They refused to come to the wedding and wouldn't spend the holidays with their dad if I was there. I was hurt over it for a very long time, but eventually grew to accept that this is how things were going to be and just tried to focus on my own children. Although my husband always held out hope that one day we could all be one big happy blended family. Tragically, my husband passed away in an accident. It was hard, and after the funeral, Leo and Adam never reached out to us again. They barely acknowledged their half-siblings, 9 male and 9 female, at family events with my husband's side of the family, and I was sad for them. Fast forward to now, and my niece, sister-in-law's daughter, is going to college, and I agreed to give her $30,000 after sophomore year. My husband loved his sister and niece, so I was more than happy to do it. Word got back to Leo and Adam, and they learned that their father had a huge life insurance policy that I was the sole beneficiary of. Plus, my side business is now turning over a sizable profit. They reached out to me angry that I was hoarding their father's money and threatening to sue if I didn't tell them how much I got and get half. I was upset, but calmly explained to them that 1, life insurance isn't the same as an inheritance, so they had no legal claim to it. 2, when I initially received the payout, I gave some to their mom to hold on to them until they were of age. They didn't believe me until I sent them proof, and apparently their mom used the money to cover living costs and there was nothing left for them. Since I used some of the insurance money to fund my business, mother-in-law is asking me to pay for Leo and Adam to go to school, but I don't want to. They literally haven't spoken to me in years, and the first time they do is to demand money? Mother-in-law asked me to think of my own children, and how Leo and Adam may take out their resentment towards me on them. If that's the case, then I don't care to foster a relationship between them. Am I the a-hole? Edited to add. I keep saying this, so I'll add it in here. 1, the life insurance policy was through my husband's job, and I was automatically named. My husband could have changed it, but didn't get around to it. 2, while my stepchildren were never named in the policy, there was always an understanding between us that I would give up some of the money to help Leo and Adam out, which is why I gave it to their mom. 3, no, there wasn't an official will, but it was my husband's intention to make one once he turned 60, but he died in his late 40s. 4, as for survivors' benefits, I can't say if Leo and Adam got some, since their mom and them never talked to me, and I never received anything in the mail about it. I'm guessing their mom took the money I gave her, and didn't think that she would need anything else. Edited to add, again keep seeing this as well, so I'll comment here. 1, while I don't feel comfortable giving the exact amount, I will say that I gave their mother around 40% of the overall policy. It's the same amount that I saved for my children, while keeping 20% for myself as a spouse. Part of my 20% is what I used to start my business. 2, I didn't put the money into a trust for them because I trusted that their mom would do what she thought was best for them, and didn't bother to keep tabs on it. 3, up until they called me, I didn't know my stepchildren didn't have money for college. 4, neither my husband or I had wills at the time, because we thought we were both too young for those. But since his passing, I have made one for myself. 5, my stepchildren are welcome to try, but I doubt that they can sue me for anything because most of my husband's savings went to paying funeral costs and any debts he had prior to his death. The house we lived in was a gift from my side of the family with the condition that it would be solely in my name. 6, I also love sister-in-law's daughter and have a relationship with her, which is one of the reasons why I'll be giving her $30,000. It won't take care of all her expenses, but it is a good start. Not a hole. Do not let the people around you guilt you into spending the life insurance money, plus your hard-earned cash on ungrateful children. You owe them nothing. Mother-in-law asked me to think of my own children, and how Lee and Adam may take out their resentment towards me on them. They already don't even acknowledge their half-siblings. There's nothing more for them to resent. The gall of that woman. Like she doesn't have a front row seat to how her eldest grandkids treat their young siblings. Mother-in-law can pay for those 2 jerks. Leave Opie alone. Mother-in-law can also take it up with her son's first wife. Not today, Hull. Leo and Adam are already resenting their half-siblings. Plus, you already gave money to their mother for them, but she used it all. Your money, your choice. You owe them nothing. Yeah, It's their mother they need to be taking this up with, but probably realize it's all gone, and so are going to try and humbug off Opie. I've noticed a lot of the time, in-laws and similar relatives believe anything their relative contributed to the household was his/hers exclusively, but anything the spouse contributed or was given is marital property. I am also sure if Opie had put it in a trust for the kids and her as trustee, they would have accused her of micromanagement, or basically wouldn't trust her to keep her word. Not they-ho. They haven't spoken to you in years. They barely acknowledge they have siblings. You literally gave their mom money for them. Why would they think, and they are ridiculous to think, they are entitled to more money for college? Next story. Am I the a-hole for not splitting money from my son's college fund to give to his stepsister? My stepdaughter's dad is a very wealthy man. I have only one son from a previous marriage. Since her father claimed he already had a college fund for her, since her father told us that, wouldn't really save up a college fund for her since she already technically had one. When it was time for our stepdaughter to go to college, she asked her father for the money and he said had lost the money on spending on his multiple mistresses over the years. Our stepdaughter asked for another set of college funds since he already had millions, but he refused. My stepdaughter came to me and my wife, and the only way she would get a college fund is if I split the money from my son's accounts. My wife wants to accept it, but I don't. It wouldn't be fair, and we were led to believe he still had that money, so our son shouldn't be punished for it. My stepdaughter proclaims she hates me and my wife, and in-laws are stating I'm an a-hole who's heartless. They say I don't care about her future. I don't think I should be blamed for this, but her father should be the one getting yelled at. Am I really being cruel here? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You were led to believe that she already had a college fund set up for her. You provided a college fund for your child, and you were not obligated to split that, / share it with someone else who was supposed to already have one. Your stepdaughter is not the a-hole either. She has a right to be upset over the situation and angry at you though. Your stepdaughter's dad, on the other hand, is the big a-hole for spending his child's college fund that he has told you and your wife he has set up, especially when he's not limited on cash. Soft a-hole for your wife, because she should have set up a separate college fund for her daughter, because it shouldn't fall to a single parent to contribute to the fund regardless of one party having more money. If she hadn't separated from her ex, she likely would have been contributing to it anyway. I disagree. Stepdaughter does not have a right to be mad at Opie, and her anger is misdirected. She should be mad at her dad. Like WTF. Also, the fact her dad has the money but won't spend it on her education, whereas Opie doesn't. They saved for years, and I agree, his son shouldn't have to suffer because her rich dad just doesn't feel like it anymore. My wife would most likely save money for her if they hadn't separated. Not the a-hole. Have your wife check her divorce degree. This is usually defined as part of the divorce. If it indicates that father is responsible, sue for the college fund. Wait, so the dad promised and went back on his word, but she hates you and everybody else blame you? Not the a-hole. I mean, the only one at fault is stepdaughter's father, who clearly has the money, but for no reason decided to punish her. But you two as parents also at fault for simply trusting him and not preparing for the worst. Are you telling me that neither of you knew the man well enough to see this coming? Someone clearly didn't learn a lesson during the divorce. I still don't understand why he would spend specifically that money in that account, but the guy apparently has millions anyway. It seems like he never wanted to pay for college in the first place. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for asking my stepson to move rooms when the new baby arrives? My husband has 2 kids. A 17-year-old daughter, Cassie, and a 10-year-old son, Brad. Cassie decided that she would live full-time with her mom when she turned 16, which she could legally do at that age. My husband and his ex-wife share 50-50 custody of Brad, week on, week off. In January of this year, my husband made a decision that he wanted to move to and buy a new house in another city that is 2 hours flight away. This meant that we would have to fly back every second week. We kept an apartment here, when we have custody of Brad as he goes to school in the city we used to live in. Since January, the past 4 months, Brad has spent a total of 5.5 weeks, elapsed, at our new house over the various school and public holidays. He has stayed 2 weeks in January, half a week in February, half a week in March, and 2 weeks in April. Our new house is 4 bedrooms. The master bedroom which my husband and I share is at the end of a long hallway. Right next to our room is Brad's room for when he comes to visit in the school holidays. Between his room and the next room is a space where we have an office space, desk and chair, set up. The next room is Cassie's room for when she comes to visit in the school holidays. The room next to Cassie's room is a spare room. I'm currently over 5 months pregnant and have suggested that we switch Brad's room to the spare room, or Cassie's room, since she's only been over 2 weeks in the past 4 months and doesn't really care since she doesn't view it as her room, and make Brad's current room the nursery. My husband doesn't want the baby sleeping in the same room as us, even though it's recommended by doctors to reduce the chances of SIDS, which was why I want the baby in the room right next door to us, so at least he will be close. I'm anxious about SIDS. It's my first biological child, and it would make me feel better to know that he's at least next door, so I can run over if anything happens and I can hear him. Brad doesn't want to move rooms, and my husband is agreeing with him, and says the baby should be in the room at the opposite end of the hallway, 3 bedrooms away. He's of the opinion that if SIDS were to happen, there's nothing we can do anyway. We've had a massive argument about it. He thinks making Brad move rooms will make him feel like he's moving down the pecking order, verbatim, and that we don't love him anymore. I just think that the house is more like a holiday house to Brad, as he's only there during the holidays and doesn't view it as his home, and he hasn't spent any great length of time in that room. The benefit of easing my anxiety and lowering the chances of SIDS seems like it's worth asking Brad to switch rooms that he's only spent a few weeks elapsed in. Am I the a-hole? Not an a-hole, but do not do the "it's my first biological kid" thing. It's irrelevant and definitely reinforces the moving down the pecking order thing. The baby needs the room because it's a baby, not because it has your genes. When my baby was born, I really wanted him to used to sleeping in his own crib in his own room right away. So I put our guest bed in the nursery and slept in there for the first 6 months. You are going to be getting up with the baby several times a night for months, and the closer the baby, the less work it all is, and the easier it is for you to get back to sleep. I would 100% recommend putting an extra bed in the nursery, but I'm worried that would signal your husband you are doing all the getting up. You need to have a conversation with your husband now about how much he intends to do the night waking with the baby, because refusing to have the baby in your bedroom combined with being okay with the nursery being hell and gone from your bed looks like he thinks he won't have to be bothered to take his butt down the hall all night long, and he intends to make it your problem. Even if you are breastfeeding, he could get up and change the diaper and bring the baby to you, or walk and soothe the baby when she's awake but not hungry. This dude needs to be prepared to do his share, and it doesn't sound like he's getting ready to. My husband doesn't want the baby sleeping in the same room as us, even though it's recommended by doctors to reduce the chances of SIDS. There's your real problem. I think you should fix that first before asking your stepson to move. I would say the only a-hole is your husband. Though, out of curiosity, what is the size difference between stepson's current room and the room you want him to move into? The room size is exactly the same. His room, Cassie's room, and the spare room are all built the same way. Same size, same wardrobe space, same side of the house. All 3 rooms have a window. He's of the opinion that if SIDS were to happen, there's nothing we can do anyway. Pump the freaking brakes! If my husband had said that to me when I was pregnant, I would have reevaluated our entire relationship. That is such a callous and cruel thing to say about your future child, and patently untrue. Proximity to parents does prevent SIDS, and you're going to need to get up several times a night for feedings. So obviously, the baby should be as close to you as possible. Not today, Hall. And demand your husband attend both parenting classes and couples therapy ASAP.